Hello and welcome. I'm Brittany Elliott. I help mothers reconnect with themselves through self-care so they can create a loving and fulfilling relationship with themselves. Thank you for being here. This podcast is all about simple, sustainable self-care that will help you navigate your motherhood journey and thrive as a woman. We are all at different stages of our motherhood journey while overcoming different challenges along the way. And we are all women with passions, goals, gifts, and talents that didn't stop when our kids came into our lives. Motherhood is easy to get lost in, and it's a big change. Change is growth, and growth can be messy, exhausting, overwhelming, beautiful, and amazing. In each episode, I hope you find a healthy mix of inspiration, motivation, and accountability as you continue navigating your motherhood journey. This is what self-care looks like. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to What Self-Care Looks Like. I am Brittany Elliott. I am a self-care and mom life management coach, and I help working moms like you change our approach to motherhood so that you can feel empowered, vibrant, fulfilled, and really ditch the motherhood narrative that says that to be a good mom, you have to be self-sacrificing. So we kick all of that here. And today I am talking about the invisible challenges of motherhood. And while I was preparing the notes for the show, I was thinking this is kind of a lot, but it could just look like a lot of text, but it could be a lot. So take it in pieces if you need to. But I ultimately hope that you get a lot from this episode, as I always hope that you get a lot from episodes. So let's get into these challenges. Many women really believe that the challenging parts of motherhood are the sleep training, the sleep deprivation, feedings, dealing with crying, potty training, bumps and bruises that kids get while they're figuring out the world. And those were tough. But what was more challenging was dealing with mom guilt, the mental load, decision fatigue, and the new limitations that I had in my body. And I'll break these down after I tell you a little bit more about my motherhood challenges. So I just want to say, before I get into the nitty-gritty details of that, there are three categories that I put mothers into when it comes to the motherhood experience and the motherhood journey. One is living the dream. So living the dream, it's typically women who always knew that they wanted to have children, were planning to have their child at the time, got pregnant when they planned, and they just really are living the dream in their motherhood journey, even though they're having challenges. The other group is the challenge accepted group. These are women who knew they wanted to have children, but when they got pregnant, that wasn't the timing that they planned to get pregnant, but cool, it was part of the plan, so they're challenge accepted and they're adjusting their lives accordingly. The third group is the riding the wave group. These are the women who were not planning to have children now or anytime in the future. Maybe motherhood wasn't something that they thought that they would be good at, not anything they really thought seriously about, and had other things that were more their priority before ever even thinking about having children. And that was me. I was in the riding the wave category. That's the type of mom I am. Regardless of where you are in these categories, these challenges hit us anyway. We all are faced with these challenges, no matter how we came into motherhood, whether it was planned, unplanned, surprise, whatnot. We all tend to experience these. So as part of me riding the wave, I knew that motherhood would be a challenge, which is a large part of why I had not planned on becoming one, because I thought, one, I'm too selfish. I'm just not selfless enough as a person. I'm not nurturing enough as a person to be able to have a child, so maybe I shouldn't do it. And I had a lot of unhealed childhood trauma that blocked me from wanting motherhood. And so when I became a mom, I knew that those things that I mentioned before, like, the feedings and the long nights and things like that would be hard, but I did not account for all of these invisible challenges. And I also struggled with how much of myself I was losing in motherhood. I still don't hear it talked about enough, just how much a child derails you, because no matter how prepared you think you are and how many classes you go to, how much advice you get, you just never know how motherhood is going to impact you mentally. And when I say derail, I know that's an intense word. I don't mean that to say that children are bad and horrible for your life. That's not what I mean. I'm just talking about the fact that kids do change the trajectory of your world, even though that is in a good way a lot of the times. That doesn't mean that it's not difficult to handle, to deal with, because it happens so quickly. And I was not prepared for the weight of the duty I would feel once I had my daughter, and to live up to the pressure I'd placed on myself. I was really sacrificing myself in the process. And like I said, I'm in the riding the wave bucket of people. And I had that fear already that maybe I'm not selfless enough to be a mother. So I think I overly recalculated or recalibrated by feeling like I owed it to my daughter to sacrifice myself in order to make sure that she would be okay and be able to thrive. Now, while I do believe that we are in service to our children and that they are our priorities, I don't feel like we are in service of them over making sure that we are okay in the process. But that's now, not back then. And I also felt that I needed to do everything on my own. So keeping her room organized, nursing her, of course, entertaining her, checking in on her breathing. I truly felt that if anything unsavory happened to her, no matter how normal it was, whether it was a cold, upset stomach, her sleep schedule, I thought it was all my fault, as if I somehow caused it directly. And I felt guilty for wanting anything else besides to be with her all the time. So I was fighting a mental battle that was built around my desire to. Yes, love?
Can I have some cheese?
Go ahead.
Yay.
Make sure you shut the door, okay?
I will.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
Who are you saying the podcast for?
It's going to be for everybody. Go ahead.
Even me?
Maybe.
I love you.
I love you. And I felt guilty for wanting anything else besides to be with her all the time. So I was fighting a mental battle that was built around my desire to, while at home, have a social life, hang out with friends, be out in public, being in the thick of everything. I really wanted that while I was at home. But then when I would go out and do that, I just wanted to be home because I didn't feel safe being out with her or without her. I was just in a very weird headspace. So there was that. And I don't feel like I was raised to be dependent on another person. So I had a hard time surrendering control and fully trusting my husband to be all the things that he was going to be as a partner. And this is another issue that comes from unhealed past trauma. I had seen a lot of disappointing men in my life, so I had a hard time truly putting into practice true partnership and true trust in anyone else. And although I always knew I wanted to have a husband, I never really understood what it would look like putting that into practice, being in a relationship with another person. And at the end of the day, the issue was me. I was fighting an internal battle and I couldn't talk to anyone about it because outside looking in, I had a man who was present with me and his child, and we had a lot of love in our lives, support, we're financially stable. And yet I was fighting an internal battle that was tearing me apart. And I find this specifically this issue of not really being able to talk about the challenges that you are feeling at home when you are married in a good relationship with your partner. You're raising your children under one home, and to everyone else, everything looks perfect. I see that a lot with women who came from out of single family households, or a lot of people around them are single moms or single parents, and they're seeing that a lot. So who am I going to go to complain, so to speak, about the challenges I'm having when other people have this challenge of doing all of this by themselves? So we compare our challenges to other people's, and because of that, because we feel like our challenge is so much less than someone else's, we won't share it. And that makes it very isolating. And for me, this internal battle was really tearing me apart. And it was all because I was approaching motherhood as if it was all on me. And that was not healthy. And my need for control in my life was sending me on a spiral. And my shattered sense of self that I experienced back in 2020 was a result of unhealed childhood trauma, buying into a motherhood narrative that was not true, the one about self sacrificing. There was that fear that I wasn't cut out to be a mother, and not talking about my mental angst. And it was through slowing down, which was primarily due to the lockdown during the pandemic, that I could finally see what I actually had, which truly was a supportive partner who was there to do any and everything necessary for us to thrive as a family. And he also believed that I was the most capable woman and was honored to have me as the mother of his child. And so I eventually found power in releasing control and focusing on the things that were actually important. Are we fed? Do I feel safe? Are we healthy? Is there love in this home? Do I have a safe space to share what's going on with me mentally? And I had that. Even though I wasn't taking advantage of the space, I had the space and I had access to it. And I had to take inventory of my reality versus my perception. And I had to do it quickly. When I glanced at myself back in 2020 and I just saw a tired, rundown me, I was able to clearly see that I had done it to myself. And I had created this idea of motherhood that included abandoning any type of self fulfillment, because I believed that self fulfillment also meant that I was being selfish, but not only selfish, that I was being neglectful. Meanwhile, by not focusing on my needs, I was not showing up as my best self, and I was showing up broken and afraid and powerless, and that was not ideal for me, my daughter, my husband, anyone in my family. So in week one of Reconnect, finding yourself where you are is all about taking your power back through facing your internal demons and truly naming what has been holding you back. And I was held back by fear, a lack of trust, and a feeling of unworthiness. So once I stepped into my power, I was able to show up better in all areas of my life: personal, professional, parenting, um, this business that I started, coaching women through their motherhood journey, having this podcast, facilitating workshops, sitting on panels. That would not have been possible had I not taken those steps. And I bring that up to say that you may be holding yourself back and suffocating your own potential because you're not prioritizing your own self-care and your own self-appreciation. So you need to stop doing that. Go to back2m5.com to learn more about Reconnect and enroll in the next cohort. I would love to help you change your approach to motherhood by reconnecting to your best self. So now I want to define these invisible challenges that I talked about when I opened up the episode. And I'm going to be really reading because I don't want to leave anything out. So don't mind that. So mom guilt. It's the feeling you get when you aren't living up to your own expectations or the expectations of others. You can overcome mom guilt by getting clear about how you want motherhood to look for you. That clarity comes from being intentional about spending time with yourself and reflecting, meditating, praying, manifesting. When you put more energy into your emotional wellness, your mom guilt will decrease in step. And I talk about this in just about every episode because this is really the core of Back to You in 5. It's really around those 5 wellness points that make you feel the most whole: social wellness, physical wellness, spiritual wellness, emotional wellness, and intellectual wellness. So, those 5 categories, just think about them being on a circle or a pie, and they're all equal parts. But sometimes we focus on the wrong piece of the pie first because we don't take enough time to reflect on what we truly need first. And so when we focus on our emotional wellness, we will see a lot of that guilt wash away as we get in more alignment with the type of mother we want to be and let go of societal pressures and expectations and let go of narratives that don't actually serve us and really settle into motherhood truly in the way that we want to be, settle into motherhood in a way that actually aligns with the woman we are. And then a lot of the mom guilt will go away. We often think that motherhood is going to turn on this switch in our lives that will make us more nurturing and more creative, and will we suddenly become the type of mother that's a DIY person, that's super crafty. For me, for example, I've never been a crafty person. I've never, even in school, been the type that had these very visually creative presentations and things like that. I've always just, worked my way through a presentation. Visually, it was always basic, but the content was always strong. So for me to think that I was going to show up as a mother and be creating these amazing like card boxes at Valentine's Day, it was just ridiculous. And I just thought, oh, I'm a mom now, and all of a sudden I'm going to be artistic, like more artistic in that way and crafty. No, I'm not. I'm not the type of person. But if I held myself to that expectation that just because my friend who is a mom is really great at doing these arts and crafts, that she's a better mom than me, and then I feel bad sending my kid with her box that maybe I ordered on Amazon. No, like, we're both really great mothers. I'm just like, being a mother, I think, enhances the things that you are really good at. It doesn't bring you new skills, and it gives you the self-awareness to work on things that you will need to have to be a good mother and to show up for your children. But it's not going to suddenly make you interested in things that you've never had an interest in most cases. So as you focus on your emotional wellness and pour more into you, you will feel less guilt because you're not holding yourself to the expectations of others. You are just staying true to you. Now, the mental load is the never ending to do list that continues to build within your mind and cloud your thoughts, leaving you overwhelmed, resentful, and burnt out. So, it's the mental fatigue that comes from the emotional investment required to care for children. The mental load is the cognitive and emotional labor involved in managing a household and caring for children, and it can be just as taxing as the physical labor involved. I recommend sorting through your mental load by doing a brain dump in a journal. And it might have been last year that I actually did add a mental load journal specifically into the journal offerings at back2and5.com/journals. And this is because a lot of women in not just Reconnect, the coaching program, but in my workshops were having a tough time with sorting their mental load. So this is all just completely full of ways for you to, in the morning, sort through your mental load. And really, the point is to get it all out of your head so you can gain control of it. We have this running list that's always going. I mean, even now, while I am present and talking with you as I'm recording this episode, I'm thinking about what I have to do after this. I know that there are things that I need to entertain my daughter today. She's been so patient, even though she walked in just one time during this recording. She's been so patient overall with me today and the things that I had to do. So we're going to have to hang out today. I also have 3 baskets of laundry that need folded, and then more laundry that needs washed because we were recently traveling. There's all this stuff going on. So hopping in here to get all that together is very important because it helps me prioritize like what needs to get done today, what can be offloaded, and then those other things that I get concerned about and worried about, these things that you can't see that are on my mind that I often am stressing about, just different scenarios that could happen. Those need unloaded too. Those worries and concerns that become anxieties that you don't have any control of whatsoever. So you can check that out too as well. Back2and5.com/journals. Now, next we're going to talk about decision fatigue. So, as a mother, you have the mental responsibility of continuously anticipating someone else's needs and making an undeterminable amount of decisions while creating an environment that is safe and nurturing for your child, which leads to the feeling of being touched out. You can overcome this by setting boundaries and enforcing them. But I have found that simply doing things for your future self does relieve some of this. So on a Sunday morning or a Saturday night, get organized for the week ahead. I talked about this recently in a live, an Instagram live, I believe, but setting out your clothes for the entire week on Saturday or Sunday leading into the week, meal planning, every quarter preparing for the quarter ahead. So, when back to school is coming, already setting up what you're going to need, doing those things for your future self to prepare you when you are mentally at ease to do it. Because a lot of times what happens is we try to make all of these decisions under duress. So it'll be a week before school starts and we're in a panic because we didn't buy a new book bag for our child when you knew months ago that school was going to start. So if you set up yourself to win, set up yourself for success in the beginning and months ahead, when you're relaxed, when you're in a good headspace, when you have the energy to do it, then all you have to do when the time comes is to trust your past self that you made the right decision then and just follow through with that decision. So that's very, very much important. And for the year, I think it's good when it's time for you to create your vision board for the year, do your planning in the new year to really set up your priorities with you and your spouse, to really set up what your priorities are for the year, what activities you want the kids to be in, how many trips you want to take that year, what's your financial plan for the year. All of that needs to be done up front so that if in May someone says, hey, you guys want to take this weekend trip with us? It's like, you know what? We would love to. However, it's just not part of our goals, for this year. It's not in alignment with our vision for this year, or just no, because no is a complete sentence, things like that. And then what's the last thing? Oh, our invisible challenge. So, new limitations in your body. So, after having a child, your body doesn't look the same, feel the same, or move the same. Postpartum exercises are very important. Eating enough nutrients, also important. You need to pour into your physical wellness. So YouTube does have a lot of great workouts that are free to access. I follow Grow with Joe. She is probably my favorite person for workouts because you can actually see the changes in her body that happen from being pregnant after childbirth. She's a C-section mom. So she had similar limitations in her body to mine. And I could actually see the progress in her body that she was making all the way from pregnancy to childbirth and afterwards. So I believe her process because I would see it happening over time. I could see her body changing. So that's important to me. I also, for stretching, Maddie Morrison, she does yoga. I don't know anything about if she's mother or not, but I just really like her approach to yoga and her approach to stretching. Other than that, I would recommend just walking and stretching in general. I think it's very important just to get your body moving and to honor your body in that way, because you get disconnected from your body and your body goes through a lot of trauma during childbirth. And I know people say it's the most natural thing that a woman can do and all these things. I don't agree. The most natural thing that we do on a daily basis is breathing. Childbirth is tough. It's tough. It's hard on you. And some women labor for a long time and then get a C-section. Some women labor for a long time and then push out their child and get all cut up and crazy and there's just blood everywhere. Some women have a very simple childbirth experience and they enjoy it. They love it. It's great. It's just there's so many different scenarios that happen with us during childbirth. I was a high-risk pregnancy. My entire pregnancy, I knew from the beginning. I always knew I was going to have a C-section due to some health issues I had in the past. So it was very much life-threatening for me to even have contractions. So they had to take my daughter out of me before that even happened. So that was very traumatic, and recovering from a C-section was very traumatic. So I had to get to know my body again and understand how it moves. And there are still, my daughter is 6, and there are still ways that I cannot move my body. It's just not going to happen because of all the trauma from childbirth. So, doing what you can to honor your body, getting to know your body, and loving your body for everything that it's gone through and everything that it has supported you through is very important. And it's important for your emotional wellness as well. So I covered a lot today and I want you to reflect on your overall wellness today so that you know where to start in overcoming these challenges. You cannot tackle them all at once. So make sure that you take the quiz. Overall wellness quiz will help you determine where you need to start in boosting your overall wellness. Maybe you need to start with your emotional wellness. Maybe you need to start with your physical wellness. Maybe it's your spiritual wellness. Whatever it is, you will determine that through the quiz. So take the free wellness quiz at back2in5.com/quiz so that you can get started. Send it to a mom that needs to reflect. Subscribe to the show. Share this episode with a mom who needs it, with a mom who will learn something from it, with a mom who will actually put in the work to feel like her best self. And remember, you don't have to sacrifice you to be a good mother. Thank you for listening. And I'll talk to you very soon. In the meantime, thank you for listening to What Self-Care Looks Like. Again, I am Brittany Elliott, a self-care and mom life management coach. I help working moms change their approach to motherhood so they can feel vibrant, empowered, and fulfilled in their motherhood journey. My group coaching program, Reconnect, is built around the 5 wellness pillars that will help you feel the most whole as you balance your motherhood role with your personal needs. So be sure to check in with yourself using the free wellness quiz at back2in5.com/quiz.